Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Welcome, dear friends. Inshallah, we will continue with studying the 29th word, which is on the man's spirit, the angels, and resurrection. So a little recap in terms of my summary about what the Quran says about angels, and which are like the meaningful side of creation. That's how we communicate with them, but we may not realize about them, right? That they are like we just take it for granted, whatever we understand when we interact with the universe. We are always interacting with the meaningful side of creation. So, and that is referred to as angels in the Quran. So the qualities that we experience, glorifying the names of God, and this is the fundamental to belief in the absolute being. So without interacting with the angels, we cannot really come to a conclusion about God, right? So all the qualities that we see in the universe, we see the arrangement, the shape, size, organization, the way it functions, right? The subtleness, the beauty, all those qualities, the power, knowledge, many other qualities that we can think of, balance, harmony, all those are qualities that we experience in the universe, but then they point to then qualities of an absolute being. So every being can be seen as a book, right? So we kind of gave an example last time. We used a lot of examples. So we looked at a fruit and then how the fruit kind of we are engaging with the conscious side of the fruit in a way, if we are aware of it when we interact with using our own consciousness that we are given. Right? So a book that conveys meaning. So the meaning does not come from the book. Everybody can see that, right? But there's an author to the book. So life and consciousness is key to interacting with the beings that display individual, non-material qualities. So we need life and consciousness is amazing gift to interact with the beings in the universe. We don't really, excuse me, we don't really pay attention to how wonderful this consciousness of ours is and what life of ours is given to us. So we need to keep that in mind. So physical matter cannot be the source of the existence of those subtle qualities found in matter. So no one can say the physical matter is the one that is producing the non-physical qualities, the subtle matter that is found in matter, right? All right. So we'll start reading then from there were two men, one rustic and uncouth, the other civilized and intelligent, who made friends and went to a splendid city like Istanbul or New York City, for example. In a distant corner of that civilized and magnificent city, they came across a dirty, wretched little building, a factory. They looked and saw that the strange factory was full of miserable, impoverished men working. All around the building were beings with spirits and animate beings, but their means of livelihood and conditions of life were such that some were herbivorous, they lived only on plants, while others were piscivorous, they ate nothing but fish. The two men watched the scene. Then they saw in the distance thousands of adorned palaces. So, in a distance, thousands of adorned palaces and lofty castles. Among the palaces were spacious workshops and broad squares. Because of either the distance or the defectiveness of the men's eyesight, or because they had hidden themselves, the inhabitants of the palaces were not visible to the two men. So the inhabitants were not visible to the two men. Moreover, the wretched conditions in the factory were not to be seen in the palaces. In consequence of this, the uncouth country bumpkin, who had never before seen a city, declared, "Those palaces have no inhabitants. They are empty. There are no beings with spirits in them," uttering the most ignorant, garbled nonsense. To which the second man replied, "Oh, you miserable man! This insignificant little building you see here has been filled with beings endowed with spirits, with workers, and there is someone who continually employs and replaces them. Look, there is not an empty space all around this factory. It has been filled with animate beings, that is, beings with spirits. Do you think it is at all possible that there would be no high-ranking and suitable inhabitants in that orderly city, in those wise adorned palaces so full of art, which we can see in the distance? Of course, they are occupied, and the different conditions of life there are appropriate for them who live there. In place of grass, they eat pastries, and in place of fish, cakes. They're not being visible to you because of the distance or your weak eyesight, or they're hiding themselves, can at no time point to their not being there. The fact that a thing is not seen does not indicate its non-existence. All right, so this example or the story that the author is sharing, right, about palaces and city where different people are working in there, and then some somebody says, okay, there's no, for example, they couldn't see physically the existence of whatever is going on those lofty palaces functioning properly like a factory is doing multiple things, right? So one view basically says, okay, there's nobody, it's empty, it's working by itself, right? Or the other one is, yes, there are definitely, there's the things are not empty. There's no empty space, right? although we do not see them, but we can conclude about them that they are there based on what we engage and experience. All right, so as the above comparison indicates, the fact that the globe of the earth is the home of these infinite numbers of beings endowed with consciousness and spirit. So, a lot of them basically endowed with consciousness and spirit, despite its insignificance and density. Among the lofty heavenly bodies and planets, and even its grossest and most rotten particulars, becoming masses of microorganisms. When they cease as sources of life, necessarily, demonstrably, decisively indicates, testifies to, and proclaims that infinite space and majestic heavens, with their constellations and stars, are full of animate beings, conscious beings, that is, beings with spirits. All right. The illustrious Sharia of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and the Quran of miraculous exposition, call these beings who are created from fire, light, and even from electricity and from other subtle flowering matter, the angels, the jinn and spirit beings. There are different kinds of angels, just as there are different kinds of corporeal beings. So the whole diversity of the universe with different beings, different creations. You have the sea kingdom, the fish, different varieties of fish, the insect kingdom, right? The plants, stars, planets. They're like all sorts of different kind human beings, even different kind of human beings, different from different areas, locations, each one with their own personalities. So yeah, so all different kinds of corporeal beings are in this universe. So that necessitates different kinds of angels. Indeed, the angel who is appointed to a raindrop will not be of the same sort as the angel appointed to the sun. There are also a very great many different sorts of jinn and spirit beings. All right, I will pause here to see if anybody wants to comment on this, what has been read so far. So far, I understand basically the author is making the case that there is no empty space in the universe, or whatever we see as empty basically is full of beings that we do not physically see them, right? And even in whatever we experience, whatever the different organisms, masses, right? Even the grossest and most rotten particulars, right? Everything basically demonstrates, shows that there must be the existence of spirit beings to them. So the whole universe is just filled with these beings that we don't physically see them, but definitely they must be there, just like the example of the book. The meaning is there, but it's not coming from the ink and paper. All right, any thoughts? Okay. So we will continue. Yeah, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Now, I understand that angels or this kind of beings can only be understood through by making comparison between what we are experiencing here and what we are not experiencing, but making an analogy that requires reasoning. So this belief in ghaib, which is not materially observable and touchable, if you like, concrete beings, palpable beings, can only be understood through reasoning. So what I understood here, the author says, look at the earth. You see many kinds of different living beings, and you know that they don't consist of only matter. They have something else which is not visible and concrete, touchable. What we are sure that every plant has a different kind of life, we call it life, but we don't know physically what life is. No one knows physically what life is. No one. But no one can deny its existence. For example, take your own body. Now, there is life in it. You know that. You have also some sort of consciousness, feelings. That is also reasonable. And rationally, we can understand, experience it, and we have no doubt about it. No one really questions whether they believe in ghaib or not. No one can question the existence of life. Everybody accepts it, and a spiritual side, feeling side of human beings are also acknowledged. But some people say this is the result of matter developed in such and such, with no evidence, no proof at all, claim, but they cannot deny it. They cannot deny human feelings. No one. They cannot deny life. No one. There are how many kinds of animate beings are there? That many kinds of life exists in the world, in this earth. So, can we not conclude, the author is saying simply, can we not conclude that although we don't see the stars and other beings, material beings, the ghaib side, it means something must exist. But this something uh, must be like life or feelings like. For example, I am a conscious being, and human beings are conscious beings. And animals are also conscious beings, but everybody has its own capacity. So they must have consciousness as well in the other creatures, other beings. I may not know it, I may not see it, but I cannot deny that there must be something there too. This analogy remind me that methodologically, to believe in ghaib is only possible through reasoning and making comparison. If it is like this must be as well. Now, making reasoning, analogy, ghaib belief in ghaib starts with this reasoning and analogy. That struck my attention here. Then afterwards, of course, our feelings also. It says, yeah, everything is meaningfully existing. So I must accept that there must be non-physical aspect of this kind of creation there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Yeah, so after our logical conclusion, our feelings also, yeah, take part in it. Oh, yeah, right. Adam, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. In the beginning part of the story, where it mentions the different cities and dirty factories, and the creature is there, I didn't quite understand the analogy uh, related to the aspects of unseen. Can someone maybe clarify the analogy a little bit more and line it up with how we should reason about non-physical beings like angels and spirits?
All right, so the floor is open if anybody wants to share anything. Yeah, I think the first paragraph about this, like the miserable, impoverished men working, right? All the building were beings with spirits and animate beings, but the means of livelihood and conditions of life were such that were different. So, and even in these miserable kind of condition situation, just like he later on mentions, that doesn't matter wherever there is any organism, any life, right? And even its grossest and most rotten particulars becoming masses of microorganisms when they see as a source of life necessarily demonstrate decisively indicates that there is this constant like, existence of these spirit beings, right? But maybe I'm not getting your question. If anybody else got your question, so they can share what you were saying.
Yeah, so the story is giving an analogy.
Correct. Yeah.
The analogy is what we should use to conclude about the truth of about angels or spirit beings. I didn't understand the part of the analogy around this palaces and the workshops, so I didn't fully grasp it. Uh, Especially the dirty one. Is it referring to like when things are in the world are degrading, like when a fruit decomposes if it's not eaten or half eaten, or even if like it's left behind, like when it's decomposing? Is it kind of paralleling this type of thing in the analogy? I'm not sure I fully understood what the significance was of there being, like, for example, there was such life that was herbivorous, and there was some that was piscivorous, and they ate nothing but fish. Is it referring to like how in uh, certain things in the world, on Earth, plant life wise, they decompose, and then fish? I didn't fully understand that part, and then also the second part about the palace. I get the part about the large palaces in the far distance. That part I understood, but I didn't get the prior two parts.
All right, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Yeah, it comes to everybody's mind. But this analogy is not on whether the things are rotting here. It's nothing to do with it. Just analogy. Even the dirt is transformed, created in such a way that life comes out of it. Even out of dirt comes life. Out of dirt. Can you imagine out of the sun, out of the other stars, this kind of creation? I mean, visible, invisible. Invisible creation shouldn't exist. Is there any reason to deny it? However, this universe is happening. So, if you say naturally happening, if nature produces life out of dirt, why not? This nature should not produce life like invisible things existing there. How dare you deny it? If the universe is created by a conscious being, if conscious being is demonstrating in front of my eyes, even from the rotten things, dirt, creates living beings, this creator, conscious creator, two alternatives are valid as far as believing in angel is concerned. Conscious creator is creating out of dirt, must be creating out of enormous creatures out there everywhere. So that is just the analogy. Just understand that angels, kind of invisible beings, must exist. Must exist. Doesn't necessarily mean that angels are in the sky, not on the earth, not at all. Just a reasoning. This is the reasoning. That is why I understood belief in ghaib can only be possible through reasoning. Thank you.
Thank you. If I understood, the examples are saying that there are activities going on here which are not seen clearly to the eye. But you still cannot deny, like you said, Brother Ali, they cannot deny that life or activity is going on there. And they come in the form of like dirt, like you said, as example. I think that's why it's referencing dirty here. It's just an example. I get this, but it could be used in other ways.
Even if out of dirt, even out of dirt is not the problem. Even out of dirt, it is something invisible is created. Pay attention to that. It is easy to understand.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other comment or yeah, high ranking. There would be no high ranking suitable inhabitants in that orderly city. Okay. I think it's like Brother Lee saying about reasoning wise. Yeah. That's where the analogy is being used. All right, so we'll continue. So if we are comfortable that yes, different kinds of angels must exist, right? Based on how many different kinds of beings are there in the universe. All right, so the conclusion of this fundamental point, as may be established empirically, oh, matter is not essential, so that existence may be made subject to it and be dependent on it. Rather, matter subsists through a meaning, and that meaning is life, it is spirit. All right, so empirically, matter is not essential so that the existence may be made subject to it and be dependent on it. Existence dependent on matter. Rather, matter subsists through a meaning, right? And that meaning is life, it is spirit. So the matter, however it exists, comes with meaning. There's no matter without meaning. If matter exists, it would come with meaning. Also, as may be established through observation, matter is not the thing served, so that everything may be ascribed to it. It is rather the servant. Uh, It renders service to the process of the perfection of a truth. And that truth is life. And the fundament of that truth is spirit. So matter is like a platform, basically, for the qualities to be manifested. Right? That's why it renders a service as being where the qualities can be observed. That's why through observation. All right, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Before going further, the translation says Radha matter subsists through a meaning. Not really the meaning that we understand, the meaning of the sentence, that kind of thing, but through something non-material being, but there is no uh, word for it to explain in English. Mana. That, I don't know. I'm a literal, you say mana, but it means non-material being, non-material existence. Matter subsists through a non-material existence. What we understand, for example, is my body essential or life is essential? Now, my body cannot sustain the way it is created. It is existence without life. It rots. So, life, matter, existence depends on life. Not life's existence depend on matter. Matter cannot come, sort of, life cannot come out of matter. Matter has no quality to produce it. So matter exists depending on something else which is not material thing.
Okay, so this mana means something non-material, basically, right?
In
You
this
said
context, yeah. In
context.
this
Okay,
context. Matter, non-matter.
I see. And the non-material thing, which is life, right? That's why it's life and the
For
spirit.
example, for example, they understand, for example, life, for example, spirit.
Got, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, a piece of art. Now, why do I call it a piece of art? Because there is artistry manifested in it. But if there is no artistry, this piece of art shouldn't be it cannot be a piece of art. It will be paint. Did I get it? Does it make sense? If I'm talking about art, this is a piece of art,
Right. Yeah.
not because of it is paint. No, because of the quality of art, it is called art, piece of art. Not because of the quality of paint. Or let's say a stone, or they make art piece or sculptures out of marble. Now, what, for example, if you go to Rome, you will see great art of made of marbles. Now, do people go there to see marble or to see the sculpture? Why do they go there?
You see the sculptures, yeah.
Art of sculpture. So
Right.
if there was no art of sculpture, marble will be a stone. That's a meaningless stone. Not meaningless, but comparatively meaningless stone. So what is essential now? Non-material side of it. In materialistic ideology, what do they say? Matter subsists of natural laws. What is natural laws? Non-material, according to their definition. Non-material being. Does it make sense? It
Yep.
was, even they don't believe in nothing but nothing exists but matter, but they still explain the existence of matter in terms of non-material things that they are making it up. That is their contradiction.
So like the forces, for example, gravity is like a spirit in a way.
Gravity is not matter.
Right.
Or natural laws, they say, whatever they are, according to them. The way the things are created, according to them, there is an independent existence which is not matter. Our point is they base the existence of matter on something non-material. That is the point. Even atheist people, they think they don't believe in ghaib. They believe in ghaib.
That's funny. Yeah, they still believe in high by calling them natural laws.
Nursi says they name it wrongly.
Okay. Also, as maybe, yeah, we read this, established through observation, matter is not the thing served, so that everything may be ascribed to it. So matter cannot give existence to life, for example. Right? It is rather the servant, it renders service. So matter renders service to the process of the perfection of a truth. So in terms of perfection of a truth, and that truth is life. And the fundament of that truth is spirit. So this non-material thing basically is what is mentioning here. In each being is the spirit or the life. All right. Also, as a self-evident, matter is not dominant, so that recourse may be made for it, or perfections sought from it. Rather, it is dominated. It looks to the decree of some fundament. It is in motion in the way that decree dictates. And that fundament is life. It is spirit. It is consciousness. Wow. So in each matter, each being that we see, all the motion or the art that we see in each being. Right? There's something that's dictating that being itself, basically. It comes into picture based on the fundament of life, spirit, and consciousness. Matter is not dominant, yeah, because matter doesn't really, it needs life or something to make it worthwhile. All right. Also, as is necessary, matter is not the kernel. It is not the fundament. It is not a settled abode, so that events and perfections may be affixed to it or constructed on it. Rather, it is a shell prepared to be split, rent, dissolved. It is a husk. It is fraught. It is a form. There's not a settled abode so that events and perfections may be affixed to it or constructed on it. How do we understand this? So matter, for example, let's say a fruit, again, example of a fruit. So events and perfections on that physical being of the fruit. It's not really the physical matter, but the meaningful side of it. The events and perfections is basically on the conscious side of the fruit. So matter is basically just something that is like fraught or, or just basically something, a husk or the outer layer or something. Not the essential, not the core, basically. Right. Any comments on these two paragraphs? All right, so no comment. Consider the following. A creature so minute it can only be seen with a microscope has such acute senses. It can hear its friend's voice and see its sustenance. It has extremely sensitive and sharp senses. This demonstrates that the effects of life increase and the light of the spirit intensifies in proportion to the reducing and refining of matter. It is as though the more matter is refined and the more we become distanced from our material existences, the more matter is refined and the more we become distanced from our material existences, the closer we draw to the world of the spirit, the world of life, and the world of consciousness, and the more intensely the heat of the spirit and the light of life are manifested. This is an interesting phrasing. In the example of a creature so minute, basically, that can sense with powerful senses, sharp senses, can hear many things. This demonstrates the effects of life increase and the light of the spirit intensifies in proportion to the reducing and refining of matter. So the smaller the thing, the more the life or spirit intensifies in that being, right? The more matter is refined, the more we become distanced from our material existence. All right, let's hear from Brother Ali.
Nowadays, it is becoming more and more obvious to the people. Physicists are declaring that really, when you go to the very, very, very bottom of it, as the text said, kernel of it, kernel, the very this essence of it, if you like, material essence. You know, they say when they reach the level of in their experience, when they reach the level of quanta, they say matter. Hardly you can say that the matter really exists. Hardly. One way it exists, another way it doesn't exist. They are just experiencing this. As the text said 100 years ago, saying that as you go distance, as it is through them, it is as though the more matter is refined, it means the divided into smaller, refined, and the more we become distant from our material existence. You cannot, for example, I am sure when I touch something here, that is it. But when you go really refine it, at the end, it is becoming more and more away from really that I can say matter. It doesn't mean that matter doesn't exist, by the way. Maybe physicists may claim someday, but it is created. It exists, but the nature of it is dependent on, as the text said here, the where was it? Spirit, life, and consciousness. Where was it? Oh, I'm following from the book. I marked it. This kind of beings. No, bottom, not bottom, one line below, yeah. The more intensely the heat of the spirit, the light, and the life, and no, consciousness somewhere. Yeah. No, go up, go up, go up. No, where? Oh, without changing the page. I've seen it somewhere.
Is
It,
this one?
it's
The one I
spirit.
highlighted is life, it is spirit, it is consciousness.
Not necessarily the author is making definition here.
Mhm.
When we hear from the revelation about life, about spirit, about consciousness, these kind of things are referred here when we read the revelation. This kind of things are life, spirit, ruh, consciousness, sure. So these kind of things, what we see here, if you really study, carefully investigate the material side of this existence, you will see that the existence totally depends on non-material beings, non-material beings.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. So there's a comment from Muhammad Saeed. How are you, Muhammad Saeed? Can you explain what you wrote about motivation?
Assalamu alaikum. Good to be here. Alhamdulillah. Good to hear your voice, everyone. Well, what I wrote is if we take the matter as an embodiment of a motivation, which is essentially, I'm trying to say that it's an expression of an idea, then the matter definitely becomes the dominated one as an expression of that idea behind it. So in that form, it's not essential, or it is dependent on that whatever is behind it. That's what I was trying to say, and It is interesting, by the way. It's a little bit this different from what I wrote. I would like to share also what I have in my mind. The last paragraph that you read and that we are discussing on, it brought this idea to my mind then that there is, since the matter is dominated by the spirit or whatever we call it behind it, it's not essential, then everything gains a potential to become a spirit being for the observants like us. That's an interesting conclusion that I felt that I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mama Said. All right. Okay, so let's continue. So is it therefore at all possible that there should be this many distillations of life, consciousness and spirit, within this veil of materiality, and that the inner world, which is beyond this veil, should not be full of conscious beings and beings with spirits? Inner world, which is beyond this veil. Is it at all possible that the sources of these numberless distillations, flashes and fruits of meaning, spirit, life, and the truth, apparent in this material existence, in the manifest world, should be ascribed only to matter and the motion of matter, and be explained by it? God forbid, absolutely not. These innumerable distillations and flashes demonstrate that this material and manifest world is but a lace veil strewn over the inner and spirit worlds. Hmm. That's an interesting analogy about the lace veil strewn over the inner and spirit worlds. That's what constitutes of matter. It's something like a see-through lace veil strewn, but it's very light, tiny, nothing really compared to what the spirit worlds is. Like the kernel is the life and the spirit and consciousness in a way. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I take my own existence or somebody else, like yourself, for example, Asim's existence. When I see Asim's body, I say, I saw Asim. But in fact, what makes you Asim is not your body. I communicate not with your body. You speak, I understand. I don't really believe and understand that body is speaking. I know something else essential to it. It is body. Body is just a veil, or is the word said, lace. Lace. You can see it. But like, for example, from your face expression, I see what your spirit feels it. Just your face expression is a lace on the spirit. But I can see behind it. No one say that, for example, when I die, when you come, if you come and find me where I am, my body is, you see my body and you go home and say that, look, because my spirit is not my life, my spirit, my consciousness is not there anymore. It's not communicating with your spirit immaterial side. You say, go home and you say, Dad, Mom, I saw Ali's body. It means Ali exists, body exists, but body is not Ali. There are two kinds of existence. That is obvious to every human being. No one can deny this reality. No one. That is why the people, when they die, the spirit and life or this immaterial side of human beings are taken away. People put the body of their most beloved ones into the earth to get rotten. They don't see any wrong in it. They don't see anything wrong by putting the body in the earth to rot. But when they are alive, let alone putting it into earth, they never play or act in an irrespectful way. Do you see the difference in our practical life? Whether you believe in God or not, doesn't matter. It is just a human reality that we are experiencing here in this world. We communicate with the world, everything else, through my spiritual side and their spiritual side. That is our reality. We cannot deny the existence of non-material beings in this world. Impossible. Even you are an atheist, you give another name, but talk about the existence of necessary existence of non-material things. People go to court, take you to court because you insulted his honor. What is honor? What is honor? Non-material aspect of human being. So we don't communicate with people through their bodies only, and they don't see body as the person I am communicating with. That is our reality. So obvious.
So obvious yet so distant we are from this reality, actually. It's a beautiful explanation, alhamdulillah.
But the
This was
only
a
way is, what is the problem? We believers in the message of the Quran have been presenting the Quranic concepts of spirit, angels, etc., in a unreasonable way, based on no reasonable explanation. That is, we are being an obstacle on the way of understanding the Quranic message. Who are we? The ones who claim they are the followers of the Quran. They speak on behalf of the Quran to defend the Quran rather than defending the Quran. We have been most of the time being an obstacle in in the way to understand the reality of the Quran. That is what we have to admit. Not atheistic ideas that harm Islam, but we defenders of Islam, we defenders of Quran are harming the Quranic message just because we don't follow reasoning.
MashaAllah. Okay, so there's a comment. The awareness of spirit to spirit communication via material platform. Subhanallah. Yeah, I think we need to hammer ourselves on it.
Excellent explanation, mashallah. The awareness of spirit to spirit communication via material platform, like I am speaking through my microphone. Do you understand? Metal is the microphone.
Yep, Subhanallah. This is beautiful. Inshallah, let's keep this awareness alive. Inshallah. All right, so we are at time. Any final comment by anyone? Not, we'll continue with the second point next week, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سورة الفاتحة